Hello, everyone. I forgot to put myself on the thing here. Welcome. I'm Katrina. This is Sow and Tare, and we do this every Monday night, 6 p.m. Pacific time. And the sun is going to be in my face for a very short amount of time. The daylight is getting less. So today, hopefully, you saw the weekend review, talking about some things, and for anybody who either was in the path of the hurricane or was near the path of the hurricane, I hope you are doing well. I hope losses for you were minimal, and I hope things are recovering the best they can as fast as they can. So wanted to say that because that is something something huge, I guess is what we should say. It's something huge, and wanted to make sure to share that with you. So we're going to be talking about preparedness a little bit later, towards the middle of the chat, and we'll scroll up here and see who is here. And take a drink of my tea. Mm-hmm. Dawn was first. Welcome back, Dawn. And welcome. My hair is weird. And Verna's here. Verna's Vase Place. She's blue with a little wrench. She's moderator. Keep catching all the bad guys. If you are wanting to grow in a small area, check out her channel. She does that. And welcome. And PJ's here. Hi, PJ. Welcome. Everybody's saying hi. You guys must have talked earlier. All right. Dawn is back and ready now. That was early when you logged into Facebook and saw it. Yes. I kind of forgot to put it up until like very early in the morning this morning, which was late for me. Okay, Dawn says I may have surgery pushed back. I'm going to fight it all I can, but the PT today didn't like the look of my leg, so I'm on antibiotics. Uh-oh. I hope everything goes well, and I hope your need for antibiotics lessens and goes away because you're healthy, and I hope they can still do surgery when you plan. And Verna says the sky is falling. Is it raining? Is it pouring? Is the old man snoring? Oh, the rain is raining there. So hence the sky is falling. Yes. I don't think you usually just run around saying the sky is falling. All right. Dawn says, I told the PT my foot was down too long and I had just put it up, but sometimes they just want to preserve their hours. Oh boy. So Verna's getting a lot of rain. I know a lot of people got rain with this storm, so yeah, hopefully you were prepared. Hopefully, I mean, there's some areas that were absolutely devastated, but hopefully, if you were in an area, hopefully if you were in one of those areas, you got out, and hopefully for those on the edges of those areas, you were prepared enough to go through without issue. All right. Dawn says, I'm going to make sure I'm not sitting with my foot down waiting on her because she's late and I have to walk to do it again. Okay, that makes sense. Oh boy. Yeah. And Verna says, boy, is it pouring on that air conditioner. If it wasn't for the air conditioner, I wouldn't know it was raining. Oh, so it makes a sound. It makes a sound on that. Yeah, the sound of rain on the air conditioner. I can imagine that sound, but I don't think heard it. I am going to hopefully start getting a new roof later this week. And later this week is I'm getting a metal roof. Right now there's 3 layers of roofing, which is you're not supposed to have 3 layers of roofing on your roof, guys. It hides leaks. So I'm gonna get a metal roof, which will be good for fire. And I hear that you can hear the rain, and I do like that sound, so I'm okay with that. Berta says, now on out, Dawn, an hour before they're supposed to arrive for PT, put that leg up and keep it there till they get there. Oh, Dawn's getting rain on the radar south of her. Headed east. Okay. Okay. All right. As long as you're walking well and you're healthy, Dawn, that is what we want. Well, rain's already over. My goodness, Verna. My goodness. You got probably plenty of rain last week, like Dawn did. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Oh, Lucy was out in the rain? Goodness. When it came down hard, we don't go out. She had to wait 12 hours. Oh my gosh. Wow. So was it windy and rainy and everything where you were, Verna? Or just the rain? Um, hey, PJ. And Dawn says, Verna, my dogs were trained as small the whole 8 hours. Yeah. Yeah. It's a long time. All right. Oh, Dawn, am I still jumping? Hopefully it's working. Somebody tell me it's working. All right. Yeah, listening to the rain as it makes you go to sleep, that is awesome. At my old place, I had a metal roof screen and porch next to my bedroom, and I loved that sound. So I think I'm really going to like the sound of the metal roof. Assuming it's going to be fairly similar. Yeah. Hey, Buster. Buster says, hey to all. Welcome, welcome. It's dry at Buster's place. Here too. Here too, which is okay. We want it to stay dry at least until the roof is done. Yeah. Yep. PJ says, I love hear the rain on the metal roof. Absolutely. Silver Creek's here. Hi, Tommy. Oh my God, it's Katrina. Howdy, ma'am. Howdy, Tommy. I would tip my hat, but I don't have one on me, at least. Oh my goodness, you're excited. Welcome. Okay, so Verna said you did have wind warnings and all, and it was bad. We did not go out during that. That is probably a good plan. That's probably a good plan, especially since I think you said downtown is still doing stuff, right? So there's probably a bunch of stuff that could have blown over and stuff. Yeah. Yep. I'm good. All right. Thank you, Verna. Oh, the picture? The picture jumped, huh? I don't know. We're here now, Dawn. So Rick says, I haven't been on YouTube much, been switching to a podcast on Rumble lately. Sorry for the absences. Hey, that is okay. You're here now. We'll count it down. Hey, Steve. Welcome. Says, let's hope your insulation is good enough. You won't hear the rain on the new metal roof. No, you want to hear the rain on the new metal roof. It's a good sound, but maybe not deafening, right? I do have a bunch of insulation that's more for under house insulation that I took when I put insulation under my house when I was still in California. I bought an extra, I don't know, container. It's I want to say it's 9 rolls, but actually have a couple more than that of that pink, Pink Panther. You roll it out, that kind of insulation. And I moved that with me. Underneath the house, I do need to put in more insulation underneath the house because it's definitely not enough. Above, I actually haven't been up there, but yeah, so we'll deal with that when it comes. All right. Dawn says rain stopped yesterday morning. Hubby power washed the ramp to the front door. Then the sun came out this morning for about an hour. That's good. That's good. And Tommy says he's always excited. That's good. Good energy. Dawn says hail on metal roofs is rough to listen to. So are acorns. I parked the RV under a tree full of acorns. Squirrels made it worse. Oh, that's pretty funny. National Podcast Day. I don't know. The only podcasts I listen to are the ones that are on YouTube. I'm not a listen while I'm outside doing things. I'm a listen while I'm working inside sometimes. Or there you go. Oh my gosh, Area 51 and Cryptid series. You have some interesting things going on over there, Tommy. Yeah, so things here have been fine. They've been busy. Fall is happening for some of the trees. Some of the trees aren't there yet. So I don't know. This is an area that I have not been in fall yet, so I don't actually know like what a normal fall is. So far I know it's not supposed to rain an inch in August because that happened. It was very cold this morning. I'm hoping it holds off a couple more days because I have some plumbing work and well work happening Wednesday. So if we can get through that without anything, then that will be better. Summer King says I'm off the rails now. New podcast, nothing fish or quail related. Hey, you know what? We have to diversify, right? We have to diversify our knowledge and our experiences, and it's good. PJ says fall is here in full force. Awesome. Awesome. I'm probably going to walk up the hill a little bit, not the whole thing, but to the power lines at least tomorrow and see what that holds. I kind of want to see what's along that road up there as far as like what's left berry wise and rose hip wise. So I knew I brought them. So I did harvest rose tips. That's going to be a couple weeks before you actually see the video. This is what the rose hips look like. No, they are not going to stay like this. This is just what I put them in. I think I'm going to just dehydrate and use as tea. I think I'm going easy this year, but I have this one. I have one that's about this full, and I have one that's about that full. And so more than 2 quarts, more than 2.5 quarts. And I think that's pretty darn good. And you guys will see that video in a couple weeks. I'm trying to get the videos all lined up so I have a little bit of time in between. Yeah, but they are tasty and excellent, and I do want to walk that area before everything is gone and see what I can find. Yeah. Dawn says, I listen to talk shows off YouTube when I'm working in the house. But I haven't worked really since the first surgery. That makes sense. Today I had PT and OT. 3.5 hours. Wow. That's interesting. That's a lot of work. I bet you're tired. PJ says, oh, I finally made have tomatoes. You didn't make tomatoes. You finally have tomatoes? PJ, they're gonna freeze like tomorrow, right? And my nasturtiums are now in the middle of the jungle. Go get them. Taste of flower. Nasturtiums are super tasty. Silver Creek says, sweet PJ. Yeah, the last couple of years, the timing schedule for plants has been more than mildly strange. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, they're green? PJ, you're gonna have to make green salsa and green things. Um, hopefully they ripen. Hopefully you have time to ripen. Why are your tomatoes so late? That's so late. Dawn says, I am using a salve on my leg and will be on the scar. Rosehip oil, vitamin E, aloe vera, and aloe vera gel. Rosehip has a vitamin C for the skin to heal. Absolutely, which you'll learn all about in a couple weeks. But yeah, rosehips. These are ones that actually taste good. So until I moved here, I only had like 2 rosehips that actually tasted good. But they taste good. They have a bunch of seeds in the middle, so you don't really need to eat that part. But yeah, they taste good. And they have vitamin C. Super Creek says, dang, Don, I feel that though. I spent much time in OT for many injuries. Never fun. Yep. No, she's not just going through the motions. She's doing everything absolutely right. Yeah. All right. Do you have one more in 45 minutes? Okay, we'll get to the topic before then. Life's like Groundhog Day. Sometimes. PJ says, fried green tomatoes, late. I don't know. They were volunteers. Oh, so maybe you're going to have a warm fall. Rose hip jelly. But you have to take out all the seeds, right? This is the thing. I have so many things to do. I want, and I have enough to do multiple things, I think. But I want the easiest way to deal with them. And dehydrating them for tea is probably the easiest one. But because you can just dehydrate the whole thing. But yeah, any suggestions is good. Rose hip jelly is a good one, huh? I've not ever made things with rose hips, so that's the other part of it. All right, you guys are talking. Oh, Dawn's other leg is a 9-day. Starts over. Yeah. Yeah. Get your playlist ready for that, Dawn. That's for sure. All right. I know it's early, but wouldn't you have to cut them to dehydrate them and let the moisture out? So with dehydration, you wouldn't always have to do that, but when you pick them, so let me get a couple of them. When you pick them, there's that this is the flower end, and then this is the stem end, and the stem end does actually have a little opening when you pick them, like a little tiny bit, and they look orange. They're more red in person, but and even if you did that, I mean, you could just stab them with a fork and do that. So I'm not putting this all the way on. I'm just kind of going like that, just so they don't fall on the floor again. You guys see the video today? Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think you have to do that. If I cut them in half, then it's like part way to scooping out the seeds. So I don't know. Aren't they sort of like cranberries? Yeah, you saw that on the floor? Yeah. What happened is I had the basket of I came back in the dark because I sat out there and watched the sunset. I have like a sunset watching spot that I've done like 3 or 4 times now, and I actually really like that area. So in the pasture, so I've been doing that in the evenings, and so I just had my stuff right there, and so I had the blackberries inside the basket for the rose hips, and I had I brought stuff in. I was like, oh, I'll put the camera here, I'll put this up there and go get the camera. from the front porch. And so I came in, I put it on top of the refrigerator and just left it there. I figure I'm going to do more tomorrow. I'm just going to leave them and I'll deal with them, tomorrow, which you really shouldn't do with blackberries, but I didn't because they all fell on the floor. So I opened the freezer. Well, it's a top freezer. And when you have part of the colander bowl thing sitting on the freezer door and open it, it goes no good. No good. Yeah. Aren't they sort of like cranberries? I've not had experience with wild cranberries. Cranberries from the store, cranberry sauce, I do not like. Now, I also didn't care for rose hips before I had these ones. Are there varieties? Are there, seasonalities, ripenesses, something like that in play? Maybe. So I don't know much about cranberries, except for that it is a berry, and there are some in Oregon, and they are red. Actually, a realtor that showed me a house one time that it's not one that I ended up with, had a cranberry farm in Oregon on the coast. So, yeah. I don't know if they're like cranberries. These ones have a little bit citrusy flavor. From what I've read, the flavors can vary wildly. And there are, I believe, 5 different type of roses that are native, or I don't know if it's all native, but are common in Oregon that have rose hips, and there's different species, and so those can actually have different flavors. Flavors can also depend on the individual genetics of a plant and the individual soils and locations and how much water they're getting, what the temperature was that summer. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that can dictate what something tastes like. At my old property, I had the citrus, and I would do the citrus tastings, and almost every year I had a different order that I put them in as far as like favorites and all that, because it was never the same season. And you might not notice that as much if you're not comparing them, but if you're comparing them and you see like, oh, this is much different than last year. So yeah. Silver Creek says some veggies dehydrate naturally. I love that about plants. They're all different. Some, like peppers, will mold. Some dry out perfectly. That's true. The variation, I think, is what really keeps us interested. Yeah, but cutting into a moldy pepper that you thought wasn't moldy, that's not good. I have done that. Yeah, some varieties do great, some don't. Silver Creek says we actually got a gourd variety this year, so we've been playing loofah, dippers, etc. Awesome. PJ says rugosa rose hips are what I use. Is that something that you buy? That sounds like a brand. I'm gonna look it up. Rugosa rose hips. The largest and sweetest rose hips. Sweetest right after first frost. Well, I didn't do that. Remove the hips from the stem of the plant. Hips should be firm but have a little give. Color should be bright red. Yeah. Yeah, mine are oblong. They're not round like that. But yeah. Dawn says I had about 50 feet of a rose hedge as a living fence on one side of the house, and it was loaded with rose hips. Really tasty though, because not all of them are. A lot of them are just like, that's edible. I want deliciousness in my life. 7 different types in Oregon, Silver Creek. Yeah, I have not fully investigated that. One of the books that I have, a foraging book that I have, actually had, I think it had 4 or 5 different types. I think it was 5 different types. And I have not looked into what those differences are. to me, a rosehip is a rosehip, and it is either good or will stay with the plant. So, yeah. Verna says, the first day it isn't raining and I see a little sun, I will harvest the only sweet taters I managed to bring with me. That wasn't stolen. Yeah, that's so unfortunate they got stolen. But good luck and have fun, and I hope they're so good. Silver Creek says, or a tomato you've been eyeballing that you cut open and is full of new tomato plants. I've not had that with tomatoes. I've had that happen with lemons, though. Have I had it happen with tomatoes? I think I have. I had that happen with a strawberry once. That was really interesting. One of the seeds on the outside was actually growing a new plant. Yeah. Witch Doctor! Hiya, long time no talk. Sorry I'm late. Oh, Melanie, you're funny. I was on the phone with them just before this. Welcome, welcome. And I'm glad you got through all of the weather as well. Oh. Dawn says, I didn't eat the rose hips. Too many thorns, and we trimmed it once a year. The rest of the year, the finch loved to put their nest inside that rose hedge. Yeah, protected, right? Our rugosa has several types. Oh, okay. So it gets weird. The Dragon Lady is here. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know all the different types. It's a rose. They're peeking out of a container. Hey, at least with sweet potatoes, you don't have to worry about them getting green, right? Yeah. Oh, 4 to 5. Did I just hide you by accident? Oh, I starred you. I'm sorry. I just hid your comment. Did not mean to. Wait, how do we... Ah! What am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Pressing things I shouldn't. Silver Creek says, right, let's just call it a pretty flower and enjoy its beauty again. There you go. There you go. All right, so let's get into the preparedness conversation. I know much of the country, really much of the country, was hit with this hurricane and the effects of the hurricane, and are still, I mean, I'm sure there's some places that water is coming from the higher elevations still into the lower elevations that are probably still flooding people. So I want us to think about our own individual natural disasters. So the natural disasters with a higher potential here are fire and volcano. If a volcano is happening, there's not much I can do except for be smart and evacuate. If given the warning. If there is, and part of that prep would be where are you going to put your animals? Do you have enough carriers for your animals? Do you have a trailer for your animals? Do you have all of your paperwork in a place you can get to it? Your important stuff. Do you know what you're going to bring with you, basically? So I guess that is a question. What is your order of operations there? And then number 2 is for fire. You can do a lot of things. You can do vegetation clearing. You can water your lawn. Maintain a green space around your house. There's a lot of trees that are probably closer than they should be where I am. They are limbed up, so if there was a ground fire and it gets to the base of the trees, as long as it's not already a catastrophic fire and a crown fire, then it would not be high on that. but there's going to be some thinning I want to do. There's going to be some forest management I want to do, and all of that. So thinking about that kind of thing. But then also, along with the fire, in recent years, there have been sorry, I'm just turning off my sound on my phone. In recent years, there has been the electrical companies shutting off power in high wind situations, in red flag situations. And so red flag, for those that don't maybe don't hear that a whole lot, red flag is not only something you need to pay attention to, but it is a warning that goes out when there is a high wind. And that, in the area I'm in, also indicates a fire danger. It's usually done in the summertime when it gets windy, and it's usually hot when they do that as well. And basically that's saying, hey guys, fire danger just is going to go up or has already gone up. Let's go ahead and do an announcement and say, okay, everybody, we're going to shut off the power, because then there won't be sparks to start a fire. And a lot of fires have been started by sparks from utility companies, and so that is what they have chosen to lessen their risk. So that's their own risk assessment. So do your risk assessment, and I'm going to be getting a generator, and I've made my decisions. And I'm going to be getting a Honda gas generator, I believe, is what I'm going to get. And then I'm also going to do a house battery bank thing, EcoFlow. And at some point, probably next year, because you can charge that with the generator as well. But at some point, probably next year, maybe not if I get rolling, I'm going to put solar to power that battery bank as well. And then that will actually be able to be used and charged at the same time. It's so from what I can tell, it's going to be a good thing. So having electricity is important for my situation. I have a well that runs, it doesn't pump without electricity. So having electricity, you could also put in a hand pump. That's something I could do if I needed to. And then the having a chainsaw and a Pulaski, that kind of thing. If trees go down, you can get them away. I also have a wood burning stove. So not wood burning stove. I have a pellet stove, which is electric, but I have a wood, just regular fireplace. So having wood, I have some. I need to have more. So that's going to be something I do probably this month, is to go find all the wood. I know where there's a bunch of dead wood that's actually dry, because obviously I didn't cut wood earlier in the summer. And so I'll be dragging out those dry areas and or dry trees and cutting that up. But making sure you have stuff for winter right now and also summer later. So yeah, so think about what you're doing. Know about what if you need to be evacuated, what you're going to do. And all of that. So I want to hear what you guys are thinking for your areas, for your particular likely or most likely natural disasters. So yeah, let's go up and see. Silver Creek says, I follow Ryan Hall, y'all, on YouTube. Apparently there's a massive amount of potentially violent storms coming from the Atlantic to the U.S. as well. Yep. Pay attention. Dawn says, where I live is tornado, hail, and lightning. Those are big ones. Witch Doctor says we love Ryan Hall too. And Silver Cake is going one further to say Ryan Hall is my spirit animal. Oh boy. Power grid. That's a great topic I need to cover. Thanks. You're welcome. You're welcome. Power grid is awesome. It's really great. But there are times when they either, they shut it down because of to lessen their risk, or if a tree falls on something. And just looking at the damage done by this hurricane and the number of people without power as we go really into winter. I mean, a lot of, maybe not the South, but the northern area that hit it's going to get cold fast, and they're going to have to restore power to keep people warm, honestly. And I mean, there's a lot of recovery, but that's step number one in getting people, ready for winter is to make sure everybody can stay warm. So that is important. Yeah. Witch Doctor says we get microburst in East Tennessee. Is that a wind? So like where you are, your property is mostly grass, right? So if you build a windbreak, you could grow a windbreak. That would be really good for you to do too. From your directions for your wind, you know what it does, and be prepared for it. Dawn says back in 2000, our first winter here, an ice storm, power went out, and power company would not restore power for 2 weeks. And if your house did not pass, you had to put a new box in 1 month for next door. Wow. You did 1 month without, huh? Wow. Yeah. Yay on the generator. We were talking about stuff earlier today. Yeah. And Silver Creek says ours in Texas has absolutely been tested for the last couple of years, and the amount of people that have been coming here. We have over 10 million more people just in the last few years. Our infrastructure is definitely being tested. Yeah. Yep. Yay on generator. I just have to get it. I don't have it yet, but I will get it. 10 million total migrants and citizens that moved here. That is a lot. That is a lot. Witch Doctor's getting a Honda too. Gas or solar powered. The Honda's going to be gas powered, and the EcoFlow is going to be the EcoFlow. You can either power with it's basically a battery bank, and which you can run your house off of or run certain things off of. And it is a battery bank that has the capability of being charged with. You can charge it from the grid, so you can plug it into your wall and it will charge your battery bank for you, and you keep that full and it's good. It can also be charged with a generator. So if you have a gas generator and you are completely out of power and everything is hooked up with that, you can charge that with that. You can also charge it with solar, either high what is the word I'm looking for? Like a higher power solar or a lower power solar. So, and you don't need an inverter for any of that. It's like you plug it into the thing and it does its thing, which is really cool. And exactly, I think that's exactly what I didn't know about it, until a few weeks ago, and now I know more about it, and we'll go from there. So yeah, it can take multiple inputs, and it can output up to 240 as well. So that's good. All right. Dawn says, I got a generator and solar battery bank, small wind generator, backup heat. Awesome. Yeah, wind generator, that's something I haven't looked into, but it does get windy every afternoon here. I don't know if we get enough wind to make that into anything, but I mean, maybe if I put up on top of the hill, maybe, huh? But that'd be something to look into. Okay, Silver Creek says we are getting to the point now where every storm and every freeze has massive outages. So your system is really being tested then. Yeah. Yeah, definitely looking into alternatives. Good. Good, good. Yeah. Witch Doctor says we got solar backup, wood burning stove for heat and cooking, and lots of shelf stable food storage. That is another good plan idea. Point. I was trying to say point, and I said plan. That is a really good point, Witch Doctor. So, shelf stable food storage is really important. I encourage everybody to take up canning, even if you are going to water bath. Things you can't water bath, things like soups and meats and stuff like that. But for the things you can water bath, you can do a lot. And if you're going to invest in a pressure canner, I think that's a really, really great idea. I have an All-American. I actually was thinking that I maybe want to get another one, but I highly recommend if you're getting a pressure canner, get one that has a weight gauge, because then you don't have to take it in. So the ones that are not weight gauge and they're just a dial gauge only, they recommend, they being, I don't know who, probably USDA, they recommend you get it the top tested, the gauge, basically the gauge tested annually, and that can cost money. It can cost you time. Depending on where you are, you may have to drive a long ways to get to someone to do that, because those gauges can be not accurate sometimes. So when you have a gauge, or when you have a weight on there, the weight doesn't change. All you have to know with that is your elevation and um you have your book. The other thing too is to have a printed materials. If you have something on your laptop or you have something on the internet, you can look that up if you have internet, if you have power. But having like the National Center for Home Food Preservation, let me get that website. National Center. So National Center for Home Food Preservation. Whenever I'm canning, I always go there. Let me put in here, National Center for Home Food Preservation. I always go there for the most recent stuff. Sometimes things change, but you can also buy one of their books and they will send it to you and you will have it and you can have it on your shelf. The same information you can print out as a PDF. I think that one's free if you don't want to pay for the book, but by the time you print it, you might as well have bought it. But if you want it as a PDF, that's good. But having printed things, so printed, there's all these survival stuff and all this like information and good information that's in electronic form. But if you don't have it in physical form and everything electronic around you dies, then you don't have that information. So another thing is to use that information now, so it's fresh in your head for things that you do all the time or will be doing. Anyway, yeah. So that's a good point. Good point. And then having that on your shelf, you don't even need, you don't need to heat up anything. It's better heated up sometimes, but you don't even have to heat up anything to eat something cooked that's good and all that. Yeah. Dawn says the worst thing about power back then was no coffee or instant. I got a percolator. I was more excited to have coffee than heat. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Hopefully it was hot coffee. Silver Creek says there would be no evacuation in Texas during ice at all. There would be none? I stuck? What? I'm confused, Tommy. Oh, to evacuate for ice? Yeah, it happens and you live with it, Dawn says. Yeah, so I get it now. So yeah, if it's ice and icy, I mean, that's where um having plenty of your your food that's already there, shelf stable food, and having things like heat or a generator that can make you heat or something like that, like that's where that stuff comes in, so that even though you might not be going anywhere, you still have the means to use your stuff. Yeah. Yep. Witch Doctor says we have a couple of go bags and a couple of go bags with freeze dried food. Yep, that's another good idea. Now, freeze dried food, you do need potable water. You don't need it. You always need potable water, but it's a good idea to have access to or knowledge where it is potable water. So that's another thing I didn't say earlier is water. When I was in California, I think me and one of my neighbors, we were the only two on the block that actually stored water, and that is important. And it's 1 gallon per person per day, and then plus your animals. So you can figure out math for that for your animals too. Is what they what is recommended. PJ says, I have 2 generators I've never used, gas stove, can't use oven if power goes out. Yep. I know, my old place I could use my gas stove when the power went out, and I actually have a video showing how to do that. Maybe I should link that, huh? Let's see. Let's see if I can link that. What did I call that? Stove. Yep, there it is. Lighting a gas stove in a power outage. And I want to do this, and let's see, how to light a gas stove. There's a video watch if you don't already know. I don't have a gas stove anymore, so that is something I need to think on. Now I do have a camp stove with little things of propane. I just not sure exactly where it is. I think it's in the workshop. I haven't moved in yet, guys. Sarah Creek says, "Yep, Dawn, just gotta make it happen." And Witch Doctor is telling PJ you should get those you should test those generators. Yep, testing them is good. And gas does go bad, so that's the other thing. If you have generators with gas, make sure you are storing, if you're storing gas, to use that gas before it goes bad. Propane apparently does not go bad. But yeah. And Don says generators are only good if you have enough gas. Can't drive to the next city to get gas on ice, and a store can't pump gas. Exactly. So that goes into your materials, right? So you need to have a place that you're storing these things. Yeah. Yep. Have to dig them out of the garage. Yeah, you might want to test that before winter, PJ. You might want to do that. Micro versus wind. Okay, I thought it was. So Creek says, and there's more coming while it's getting cold fast. That's why we really need to pay attention this year. Let's see what this weather season brings till next dry season. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good idea. Yeah. Dawn says I have 2 negative 135-degree sleeping bags too. I don't remember everything. It's all on shelving to grab. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I have a backpacking sleeping bag, and I should have got the men's because apparently women are short. It goes up to here on me, which I know you're trying to cut the weight when you're backpacking, but yeah, but it is warm. We just have to sleep like this. Yeah. Andy's here. Welcome, welcome. Hello, I am able to chat. For some reason, the chat would not let me in. Uh-oh, what were you doing? Well, you're here now. We can see you, and we are talking about being prepared and talking about what our areas, what natural disasters in our areas we are preparing for, and maybe what we need to do. Yeah. Silver Creek says, watch everything, pay attention to the birds, see where the predators, when the predators get desperate, pay attention to the facts of nature. That is actually, so I'm going to make a video, I think. I just thought of this earlier today, of echoing nature. And that is one of the things is, it's not one of the things I was going to talk about, but maybe I will now. Yeah, so echoing nature. So if you are in tune with what's going on in the world will tell you what's going on, meaning nature. And I've been watching the geese go. They go up the valley in the evening and down the valley in the morning. And if that changes, well, then I know they're migrating. But once they start going this way, they're migrating. But until that point, they haven't started their migration yet. So that's something to pay attention to for sure. And if you're looking at what animals are doing, if you're looking at what the animals are doing, they often will, give you the heads up. It's true. Everybody saying hello to Andy. Dawn says, I bought my stove so I can run the oven when the power is out. I use it every year in fall to heat the front part of the house in the morning before I have to turn the furnace on. There you go. Oh, and PJ has solar panels too. Good. Verna says, I freeze dry everything. I'm lazy. Hey, that is good because it actually saves space and you're in a small area and you're going to have a longer term on that food anyway. Andy says, I swear we lose power every time it rains around here. And Silver Creek says, oh no, Andy, I was going to say that you swear you lose power every time you put eggs in the incubator. Was it last year or year before that you went out so many times? So that's another thing is know what you're doing for your incubators. If you're incubating, those hand warmers work really good, for a day or two, whatever. You crack them and move around, and it gets really hot. Put a couple of them in there, not on the eggs because that's gonna boil them, but wrap it in a blanket, or a generator, or battery bank, or drive around in your car. All right, Witch Doctor says, if you do not cook from scratch, you should keep some printed cookbooks. Yes, so if you are, well, I'm going to change this, Witch Doctor. If you do not cook from scratch, you should learn to cook from scratch because then you don't need cookbooks. But if you have cookbooks, it is a good thing because then you'll know what works with what and all that. But if you cook from scratch, you can make more things. I mean, and if you're not afraid to, there are some people who only follow recipes. They follow recipes exactly, even if they don't like an ingredient in it. If there's onions in a recipe, I will likely omit it unless it's a salsa or sometimes a soup that gets blended. But you don't have to put all the ingredients in a meal, and you can add ingredients. Example, I made some rabbit the other night. I made some rabbit. I had pressure cooked a rabbit earlier in the week. Well, okay, this happened last week, but it was early in the week. Pressure cooked a rabbit, and I've seasoned it just mildly, and then I've been using it for meals, And so I had rabbit and a yellow squash, and what else did I put in there? Oh, a pepper, like the peppers. And then I actually just looked at that and I'm like, oh, I have some apples here. Well, I'll throw apple in there. So I cut up some apple, put it in there, and then I put some eggs on top, put the lid on, let that nice everything mellow, and so I could pop the yolks and yolks could go everywhere. And it was really good. Now, a lot of people wouldn't think to put fruit in that kind of a meal. It's good. It brings you nutrition, brings a little bit of sweetness, especially since I had the spice in there. So you can experiment with things that some people would never put in their food. Here's a tip: anything you grow in your garden, you can stir fry. Yes, even figs, you can stir fry. If you don't know how to cook something, stir fry it. But yeah, I would say learn to cook from scratch and still have cookbooks. Yeah, there we go. Freeze dry if you can. Yep. Andy Rabbit says, I have a turkey fryer that uses a propane tank for the flame to use my all-American canners. The small I use on my glass top stove, but the large one, I'm afraid it's too big for the glass top. Yeah, so that's something, if you're canning, if you get into canning, that is a lot of weight, especially if you're pressure canning, especially if you're using the All-American. The All-American is made of aluminum, and they basically like take a chunk, hollow it out, and there's one piece, and then there's lid is one piece, and it's amazing, and it's heavy. So check your manufacturer for your stove, especially if it's a glass top type thing, and see if that's advisable. If not, you may do what you choose to do, and if you are choosing to do it, be very careful. Yeah, I like the All-American. All-American canners can be used over flame, where the Presto ones are going to have a little harder time with that because they're not as thick. So, yeah. Yep. Which actually says, Andy, I was always afraid of cracking my glass top stove. I haven't even used the cast iron pans on the glass top. Yeah, I wouldn't have glass top personally. Yeah. Wick Doctor says, and how will you filter your water if you had to get it from a river or stream? Exactly. So how are you filtering water? Do you have a carbon straw, like those Life straws? Do you have a filter? Do you have a, Berkey or Brita or whatever? Are you going to use a sand filter? Are you going to use a charcoal filter? Can you make charcoal to make a filter? Do you know how to do that? Yeah. Or boil the heck out of it. But do you know how to start a fire, right? So, yeah. Lots of things to know. Verna says, I don't like using electric stove for canning. I only trust gas, at least when you turn it off, it's off. Yeah, so Verna, I am still getting used to cooking on electric again because I'm having to change my I'm having to learn my timing. So, I cook with cast iron mostly, and I put the cast iron on there, I turn it on, and turn it on medium, and usually in the past on using gas, it was just there for, I don't know, 30 seconds, a minute. And then I added some oil or whatever fat I'm using. Now I'm using electric, it's still cold. And then when you turn it off, the heat's still there. And when you turn off gas stoves, it actually, turns off and it's cold now. So it does take some getting used to, for sure. Which doctor says to put additive in your gas before you store it? You're talking about gasoline? What is the additive? Which doctor says we also have a 100-gallon fuel tank so we can have extra gas on hand. That is good. That is good. Andy Rabbit says, I was in Texas when the ice storm came. Oh my goodness, I feel for them. They have no idea how to deal with frozen at all. I am glad I was there to help my dad out. We filled 5-gallon buckets with snow to melt and water for the toilet and things like that. We paid $8 for a pack of bottled water. Yeah. Yeah. Several years ago now, when the first ice storm came to or the cold came to Texas that they weren't prepared for, and they didn't winterize all their renewables and all of that energy. I have a cousin that lives in Texas, and she was chipping ice out of their pond to use as their water. That was the only water available to them. At least they had a pond. It was chlorinated and safe to drink apparently. But they were boiling it. They were using it to flush toilet. They were doing all these things, and they still had broken pipes at the end of that. So yeah, water is important. Dawn says, I have a big Berkey gravity filter. Lake down the road a bit, or a 350-gallon-ish tub under the gutter in the backyard. Yep, you know where your water is. Now you don't have to spend the money for Berkey gravity fed systems. 2.5 gallon buckets drilled for the filters and a water spout. Okay, so you're saying basically that a lot of the money in a Berkey filter is it stainless steel, I think? Is stainless steel. That makes sense. Which doctor's having second thoughts. Maybe I should have done the bucket theory. Don says my solar panels are in the garage in boxes. If needed, all we need to do is toss them up on the garage roof. But wind is always here, so should not need them. Yeah. And which doctor said, now we live by the water. So much water. Yeah, they moved from Las Vegas to Tennessee. Went from brown to green. Yep. And Dawn says, me too. I got mine in 2000, way before someone invented the 5-gallon buckets. Yep. Yeah, doesn't wish doctor love the extra water? Yeah, I bet. Andy says, at first I was worried about that too, then decided my stove needs to fulfill my needs, and if it cracked, it was right for their needs. But after all these years, it has held up, even when I run 2 canners back to back in one day. That is good. Yeah. It's good. Oh, she says, mine is so old it even has a dent in it from rolling off the counter when I was cleaning it once. Oh no, Dawn. Like adding chocolate to your chili. Okay, Verna's coming in talking about food, which I did talk about. Just poof, there we go. Yes, chocolate in your chili. Hey, if you do chocolate in your chili, that is good. I mean, moles can have chocolate in them. Yeah. Andy says, this wasn't the year. It wasn't this year on losing power while I had eggs in the incubator. I've only hatched 2 batches this year, but it was a 50% on it going out on me. We only lost power, I think, 2 times this year. Okay. Dawn says, I call that sear or saute. There we go. Andy says they press a chunk of aluminum to the shape of the pot. It starts out as a puck of aluminum. Oh, that's how I thought, because it has lines on the inside. I thought they took it out. Maybe that's just in the shaping process. Which doctor? I hate glass top stoves, but it's what we got to work with. There you go. And Verna's suggesting boil water even before filters. I think it probably depends on what kind of filter. Can't hurt. Yeah. Dawn says, at my age, my Presto was worth the investment, same as my dehydrator. I could never get my money's worth at my age out of those super expensive ones. Yeah. I like the All American because it is sturdy, and I feel the best about it. I don't know. I feel the best about it. And dehydrators, I mean, dehydrators are good. It's better if you can get a dehydrator that you can set a temperature on, or set it to, just dial, set it in between stuff. So you can do more delicate things. But yeah, dehydrators are good. And as long as you get the timing right, it's good if it has a fan. My first one didn't have a fan or the temperature thing. It was just on. You could adjust something in the top to let out, so much moisture, air, whatever. And that was it. So, but it was also $6 from a garage sale. So there we go. Now I have one, a Nesco, that I can stack a lot on. Yeah. Steve says, fuel stabilizer additives such as Stabil. Is that really the name? Is that really the name? All right. Interesting. Good to know. Don says, if I might live 10 more years, I'm not spending that kind of money to preserve food, or longer than I'm likely to survive. Well, let's hope you live a nice, long, happy life. So Witch Doctor says, Ricky says the additive is so the fuel doesn't go bad. It's called fuel preserver. They have lots of brands. Just Google fuel preserver to prevent fuel from going bad. Okay. Fuel stabilizer is glycol, Tommy says. Okay. Oh, and Steve is the one that came up with the one that Ricky used. Okay. Stabil. Stabil. I don't know why I put an accent on that. Andy says, I have been 4 or 5 ice storms, 4 different states. Don't move here. I'm sorry, Verna. Okay. Don says we use fuel stabilizer in boat motor, often in winter. I think it was. Maybe does it help it not freeze? Maybe? I don't know. Oh, Don says time for me to get off and go do last torture of the day. Have a good night, everyone. Good night, Don. Have fun with your PT. There we go. And thanks for coming. Steve says Stabil. Stabilizer. That's the name. Yeah, that's why I was like, it's not that creative. I thought they'd have a more creative name. Stabil. Okay, whatever. Anyway, that's the one to get, huh? Got it. Everybody saying goodnight to Dawn. Andy says, when sorry, you didn't say oop. You just went too far. When I went to Brother's, Brother's house, maybe? He had a Berkey, I think, water. I really got to see how good they worked. Good water through it. One day it was empty. I couldn't figure out how to fill in the sink. So I just a glass from the sink. Yuck, it tasted straight up like fish water. Now I want one. Yep. Go get him, Dawn, Steve says. Silver says glycol is the same chemical used in antifreeze. Okay, so that answers that. So yes, it does have anti-freezing properties. It's basically sugar alcohol. Okay. Yeah, Andy. Don't move here. Oh my goodness. You guys are funny. Oh, well, the sun's been down. We don't have much color in the sky. Last couple nights we've had some color, so that was enjoyable. Um, all right, so we got everybody prepared, huh? So I have a list. I need to make it a better list. And then actually act on that list. Among the top is generator and chainsaw for me, and Pulaski, but chainsaw, because I do need to start working on wood for winter, and hopefully I won't need a whole lot of it. I have been using a few times, the mini split in the bedroom to heat the bedroom a little bit at night, and that has worked fine. I haven't done no complaints. I don't heat it hot because I run warm. But I know at some point here soon that's going to change to being colder, and it'll be interesting to see how much the mini split. So there's 3 mini splits, one in one bedroom, one in another bedroom, and one in the main living area. So it'll be interesting to see how that main area gets heated. And hopefully soon I'll have new windows so the moisture isn't on the inside of the window when I wake up in the morning. And a single pane and all of that. So hopefully once that happens, it will be, double paned. I can paint, all that, and then put up the curtains. And the curtains I took the curtains from that I made for the other house, and those are insulated. So hopefully that will help. And yeah, go from there. Andy can survive an ice storm. All right. A chimnea is a good survival tool. CHIM. I gotta look that one up. CHIM. What? Gotta look at the spelling of this thing. What are you trying to spell? INEA. Oh, I did not know that's what that was called. Okay, chimnea. That's what I'm going to call it until you tell me it's called something else. All right. Maybe my dad's here. Hi. We had our first freeze last night. 26. It looks like you said negative 26, but I know that's not the case. 26. So I woke up this morning and it said 32 on here, and I'm hoping it didn't get that cold. When I went up, I checked on the rabbit's water and it wasn't even close to frozen. So I haven't turned off the water for the cabin yet, and I need to do that, but I want to do that after the well people are here. So I'm hoping it is okay. And yeah, so I'm hoping that is okay for like 2 more nights, and then we can turn it off, because I want to make sure everything's working for that and go from there. But yeah, it said 32. So I'm just gonna tell my dad that's why I texted you, but you didn't get the text until later this afternoon because Verizon went down for a lot of us. Apparently, it's back now. Yeah, and he's in Oregon. Andy says, in Oklahoma, I saw my window crack during the ice storm. Oh my goodness. That's major. That is major. Andy says, I say it chimnea. Chimnea. Okay. So I just looked it up, and it's like a fire. It's like a fire pit if you put it into a pizza oven. Did I explain that right? Yeah, clay fireplace. Okay, that was a better explanation. Oh, it was your front room window. Ooh, wow, that's not good. um, yeah, I'm gonna get some dual panes. Right now, there's single panes. Oh man, yeah. So growing up, we didn't really do much of this stuff. My dad can add in if we actually did do some of this stuff. I'm talking about being prepared for things, natural disasters and such. I know for a while we kept a couple gallons of water underneath the sink. It was by no means like enough to keep us going for several days. It was literally like 2 or 3 gallons of water underneath the sink. And then um, we had a pantry. It was not a fully stocked pantry like I have, but it had, more than a day's worth of food in it. And maybe it's not what you wanted to eat, but you could eat it. And I remember the power went out one Christmas and we had a fireplace. And the fireplace, is that when I don't know. I don't think we actually cooked over the fire, except for I remember we did marshmallows one time. And I remember one time we did those, those sandwich makers that's on a stick, like it's a little cast iron thing, or maybe not cast iron, but metal, and you make like a sandwich with cheese and something, and you put it on the fire. I think we used those inside once, if I remember remembering right. Yeah. But I don't think we ever did anything preparedness style. But my dad can correct me. Verna says, that's what my windows are here, dual pane. That's what everybody should have. And it's just really the older, I don't even think they make single pane anymore. They might. But the older windows all were just single pane. And it's so much better to have the dual pane. It has the gas in between, which is supposed to be extra insulating. So, yeah. Okay. Chimenea is originally invented by the Mayans and came from southern Mexico. Did Europeans name it or did the Mayans name it? I wonder if chimney. Well, they would use it over in Europe, so maybe not. Um, I'm just wondering where the word chimney comes from. That's good. Andy says my windows they were double pane. I had that room closed off. I opened the curtain to go in and get something, and the inner pane cracked. Oh my goodness. It gets cold where you are, though, right? Like cold, not just regular cold. Ridiculous cold. Yeah. Oh, my dad has a big no. Is that capitalized on purpose? We don't really prepare for long-term outages. Our power is very reliable here, all underground. So that is another key, is a lot of these places that like they turn off power for like windstorms and stuff. It's because the power is above ground, and it would be way too expensive to make it underground. um it could be done. It would be very expensive to do underground. Yeah, when things are underground, they have less likelihood of failing. It's usually when there's a car accident or something that hits a power pole. That's usually, I think, when the power goes out. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys had, well, used to at least have wood stocked up for the fireplace, even though that's not primary. That's like if you wanted a fire, or if you know wanted wanted to have a fire for some reason, or if the power did go out, you can have a fire. Yeah. um Andy says, I don't know who named it, but on a cold, snowy night, it keeps us warm sitting outside. Just don't get a tiny one. It doesn't work as well. Andy wants big fire, please. Unless someone accidentally digs up the power lines. That is true. That is true. And it does happen. That's where the call before you dig comes in. I should probably do that. I know there's lines that go up to the cabin, and I think I know where they are up there. I could probably follow a path down, but I should probably see if someone could cite those. Yeah. Yeah, occasionally happens, my dad says. Andy says the window was in Oklahoma during a 2-week-long no power ice storm. We only had propane to keep warm. Wow. Wow. That's big. That is big. Yeah. Well, at least you had the propane and the means to do that. So something else to think about also in the winter time, well, anytime, but if you have a heater, like a space heater type deal, make sure it's something that you should use indoors, because if it is off-gassing stuff that will kill you, that is not good. And don't use it indoors. Don't use your generators indoors. If it's the gas generator, propane generator, don't use that indoors. That has to stay outdoors, so you don't get, so you don't expire. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I want to say. I have not made this, but it's called something. It's called something. Okay, you guys can tell me what it's called. One where you take a flower pot, like an unglazed flower pot, and you put it upside down over some tea lights. That's supposed to burn for a long time. It's supposed to radiate the heat through that. It's called something. Yeah, I know how to do it. I just haven't done it. My dad says safest place to avoid natural disasters in the U.S. is Utah. So they say. Who's they? Who's they? And Utah has many different climates. So, is it because they don't have enough vegetation to burn in some places? Some places they do, though. Don't use your barbecue indoors for heat either. Yep. Make sure your flue is open if you're using something that has a flue. All of that. Yeah. Witch Doctor says, yes, we had a friend use a generator in his garage, furring out a cold night, and the power went out. The wind shut the outside door to the vent. The family went to sleep and never woke up. That is so sad. That is so sad. But it happens, and so don't let it happen to you. Yeah. Witch Doctor says, unless there's an earthquake, the Salt Lake City Valley is not stable. See, but my dad grew up with earthquakes, so he probably doesn't think of earthquakes as a big deal. Yeah. Andy says clay flower pot upside down with candle under it. Double flower pot keeps the heat better. Yeah, but it's called something. What is it called, Andy? Yeah, the more layers you can do, the better. And having tea lights, they can last a while. Yeah. I don't know what it's called. But it's easy to do, and I mean, it's the only other use of tea lights that I know of besides pumpkins. Witch Doctor says, I've always wanted to try this trick. It's not a trick, it's a thing. It's supposed to work. All right, here's your homework. I got to find a clay pot because I didn't bring any with me. Do that over the next week. Let us know how it turns out. Go on the Friends of Sow and Tare Facebook group and let us know how that goes when you make one of those flower pot heaters. And here's the link to Friends of Sow and Tare Facebook group. Flower pot heater, that's what you're naming it? Yeah. Terracotta candle heaters. No, there's another name, guys. It's like a guy's name or something, isn't there? Tea lights usually last 6 hours from Berna. Toda. I don't know what you're saying. It's okay. Now that would be safe to have inside as long as you don't light anything on fire. That's the key there, right? Yeah. Yeah, somebody try that. Somebody with flower pots, try that and see how it works. I need to get my gardening stuff going. I haven't started my plants yet. I was going to do some fall stuff. It's kind of getting a little late for that, but I'm going to try anyway. I did have a surprise the other day though, and you guys remember my giant beets that I had at my old property, that were taller than I can reach standing up when they went to seeds. I have at least 2 that made it into the soil of my my green stalks, and I have 2 growing in there right now. So I think that's what it is. I think that's where it came from. There's also some grass from here. But yeah, there's some growing in a couple of green stalks. So maybe I have saved those genetics. We'll see. We'll see if the deer eat it. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. And Steve said it only heats the terracotta pot, not a large space around it. I've heard different. I've heard in a small room, not a whole house kind of thing, but I've heard in a small room, like maybe put it in your bathtub or something. That won't catch on fire, right? Yeah, I've heard about it being used in a small room. I've not heard about it like doing a large space, but yeah. Mr. Buddy Heater, which doctor says. Mr. Buddy Heater. I've heard of that. Oh, yeah. Yep. Boop. And Steve says, about as much heat as the candle itself puts off. Really? I've heard different. Experiment. Experiment and report back. Homework has been assigned. I've never done it, so I can't say that. I have heard from people who have done it that it works in small areas. My dad says I Googled the tea light thing with pots. Doesn't work any more than a candle and might be dangerous. How would it be dangerous other than a fire risk? Okay, Verna says use kerosene lamps. They heat and give you light. Again, anytime you have open flame in a house, be careful. Which doctor collects them? Andy Rabbit says only thing I find not called flower pot heater. Clearance tea stove ceramic radiator. Red pottery tea wax heating pot. A stove. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's a lot of names apparently. Yeah. From Walmart. Fire risk being entirely on the candle itself. I would think so. I don't think terracotta burns. In any case, it's something I haven't ever tried. Yeah. Serena's here. Welcome, Serena. Hope you're doing well. We are talking about being prepared for our own individual natural disaster potentials. I actually don't know where you're located, so I don't know what ones you have. Yeah. Welcome. Yeah. Everybody's saying hi. What is a hummingbird's favorite fruit? Nectarine. You came prepared. So anyway, I just wanted to talk to you guys about that because it's stuff like that has been on my mind. I mean, not before the hurricane, stuff like that was on my mind. And you guys know I've been thinking about generators for a while, and now I'm ready to actually get them. And then you have like what I need is what I've been thinking about. I'm in a new situation, new property, and all that. But then after this hurricane, I'm like, well, maybe we should talk about this. Oh, Witch Doctor has a good another thing. And what is your fire prevention if your off-grid heating goes wrong? So I just recently invested in some fire blankets and some fire extinguishers. So I will be putting those in different locations. And so that is that's my fast option. And then yeah, if you have water, you should know where your water, water lines are, all that. So you can get into the house with water lines if you need to, or at the house. So yeah, that's something good to think about. Verna says, only thing I have to worry about, and I don't worry, is tornadoes. I'm safer now than I am in a downstairs apartment. Yeah. Yeah. You won't get squashed and you won't get flooded. Yeah. Well, hopefully. Let's knock on some wood here. Yeah. Andy says dry rabbit poop will burn warm if you ever need to. Another reason to keep rabbits. Do you need any more reasons? Yeah. Well, rabbit poop is basically, nice. It's basically it's the leftover of what didn't get digested of the plants they ate. So it's basically dried plants. So yeah. Ed, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Ed. I hope you're doing well. I hope storms avoided you and you're healthy and doing well. And Steve does not like the rabbit manure burning. We are talking about being prepared for our natural disasters and currently talking about fire prevention. Andy says, I guess my fire prevention would be to run away. Okay. Oh. Right. So my dad says the main thing for fires is having defensible space. And I talked about that earlier. Having an area around you where you don't have trees, or you don't have shrubs, that's dry, keeping a green belt around you. I know I have some trees that are somewhat close, but they are also trimmed all the way up. I think 18 feet is what the previous person trimmed them up to. So if there's a fire that's already a crown fire, it's going to be an issue. But if there's a fire that comes and it's a lower fire, it should just do the underbrush and all of that. So yeah, defensible space. Ed says, keep a big can of Crisco lard and a big wick as a candle. There you go. I remember making the tuna fish and cardboard candles with what did we use? Did we use bacon grease or something like that? I don't remember. I think we also did it with lint from the dryer. Yeah. Andy says rabbit poop didn't stink as it burned. Okay. Oh, and Witch Doctor says Crisco will burn. So you're saying maybe not Crisco? Or maybe not a big one, maybe little ones. And Steve has been gone doing math. It would take 120 candles to heat up a 200 square foot room. Would you like to talk about carbon monoxide poisoning? Well, okay. There we go. Yeah, that many candles is maybe not something you should go with, huh? Oh, man. What? Doesn't it release the bunny birds? What? Oh, goodness. Witch Doctor says, I have a Ziploc bag of dry air lint in our bags. Yep. Yep. It works. It's for light, not for warmth. So Ed, we were talking about the flower pot when you turn it upside down and there's tea lights. That's what we were talking. That's what Steve is responding to. Yeah. Okay. Andy says, I found out it burned one year as we were burning off some pampas grass and the poo started burning too. Okay. It is dried, plant material. Yeah. Junk. Okay. We got the official word. We got word from my dad, from Steve, and from Ed now. Ed has one word answers. It's immediate. I didn't say I didn't believe you, Steve. I said I've never done it, but I've heard from people who have that it works for a small room. And Witch Doctor, go ahead and try, but don't carbon monoxide yourself. Do it on a fire blanket with a fan. No, do not take any advice I just gave you. Yeah. No, it would be interesting because I know terracotta would hold heat for a long time. So, like, if you want to burn your hand, yes, it'll work. Yeah, I know you have fire blankets. You talked about this. Test them outside, not inside. Oh, do not do it while drinking? What? I don't know what you guys have planned. Yeah. So, yeah, maybe some separate heaters from some separate heating ways other than that. So I know terracotta, once it's warm, it stays warm. That's kind of the idea of the chimenea, as I say it right, that I believe it was Andy was talking about. Because that once it gets warm, it radiates the heat. And I mean, you could do something like that where you bring in something that you've had in a fire outside. I mean, people can heat soup or water with stones that were in a fire. And there's certain stones that people use to do that without it cracking and all that, but that's up to you guys to research. A story? Oh, is Steve speaking from experience? Is that what you're thinking, Witch Doctor? Oh, man. Mm-hmm. Ginger tea is good. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. A few candles will add a little heat in a room. I've done it before in a camper. Different information. Kerosene or propane heater, tried and true. One that turns off automatically when it gets tipped over. That's a thing now, right? Witch Doctor, that comment, without knowing what I just said, would be hilarious. I learned about river rocks. Yes, but not all river rocks. It's some river rocks. I think they test them, and I don't know. But yeah, that is something that's used to heat water. Yeah. That's how people cooked in baskets. They didn't put the basket over the flame. They put the rock that was in the flame into the basket in water or liquid. Yeah. So yeah, I have a ways to go as far as my actual preparedness here, but I have started on doing some of these things, and I just got the fire blankets and fire extinguishers in the mail it was last week. So last week I just got those, and I'm going to be getting some of these other things here pretty soon. Yeah. Ed says, however, those Chinese diesel heaters are the bomb. They heat large spaces. I don't know about Chinese diesel heaters. Is that their name? And he says it ain't much heat, but the chill was from my nose went away. Sometimes it doesn't take much, huh? Rena says river rocks are the ones most apt to explode when heating because of the water in the rocks. But there are some river rocks, so that's why I'm saying there's a way to test it, and I don't know if that's just putting it. I don't know, but that's why I'm saying some rocks do work and some rocks don't work. But river rocks are often the rocks that were used for that. Steve says that's how. What? Oh, that's how you warm the bed. Put a large rock or brick from the fire wrapped in a towel and slip it under your covers. Don't touch it with your toes. I'm going to have a roast Steve. Yeah. Yeah. I need to know what a Chinese diesel heater is. I'm going to look this up. Chinese diesel heater. Okay. It's a thing. It's a thing. My hope is the power's going to be fine and everything will be fine and I'm going to have enough wood and all that. I just haven't started cutting wood. But it's always good to be prepared. Andy says, random, I found a goat Saturday I fell in love with, but they wouldn't sell him to me. Are you going to go visit it? Did you make a friend? So funny. Yeah, that's funny. So yeah, you can be prepared by having a goat eat all your weeds around your house, right? There's your excuse, Andy. There's your excuse. Oh, my dad's saying good night. Good night. All right, did we get through all of the natural disaster stuff? I guess if you're in a hurricane area, you probably want to have like a blow up boat or something, a canoe, something to get things back and forth. Things I don't think about here, but that would be probably handy in some areas. Yeah. Andy says, Katrina, enough wood is like enough cages. You never have enough. Yeah. I also need to get pellets. Yeah. The pellet stove guy told me basically a ton of pellets is what people use in a winter or in a year, I think is what he said, but generally the winter. And so there's that option. I'm probably not going to get a ton right now, right away. I'll get some. And then I'm going to have wood available, and then hopefully the mini splits will do well, and we'll see what the power bill is. And maybe after using the energy bank, or the electrical bank, it will be less. Maybe we'll see. Truth on the wood. Steve says, for hurricane, all you need is a car so you can leave when they give you that dang warning that you don't get from tornadoes. You don't get them from tornadoes. That's right. Yeah, I mean that's the wisest thing to do, I think, is to avoid that if you can. Andy says, I told my hubby that no, I'm not going to visit him. I would want to take him every day if I did. You told him he would eat the weeds? Yeah. Yeah. If you go visit him often enough, they'll get tired of you. Just give them to you. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. No. No. They may also love them. Yeah. I'm wondering if it's... Oh, you get tornado watches. I don't hear, but Steve would, I think. And Andy probably would. I don't hear. I was gonna see how cold it is outside. It says 60. I don't know if that's right. It says it's the same temperature inside as outside. It's 60 in here. Um, Interesting. While your hummingbirds hum, they don't know the words. Serena. Andy Rabbit says, I didn't take their contact info. I got it. I got it. She says, if I go to bed at 10, so I don't get a watch, you get days or a week's notice on a hurricane. Yeah, for the hurricanes, you definitely you get some idea that something's coming, and then it might change direction, as it did apparently this time. Yeah. Andy says we get tornado warnings all the time. They just pass on by. That's the best way for it to happen, right? They go away. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, here, so far, I haven't been here very long. So far, it's just been the no using chainsaws and stuff in the summer time when it was really hot and dry, and then also windy, which I understand that one. Don't want to start fires. Yeah. Ed says, I got one on my phone during the hurricane, but they didn't show it in my area. But there were 2 tornadoes showed up 20, 30 miles away. Wow, okay. Okay. Very disappointed. What? Yeah, I don't like tornadoes either, witch doctor. Why would you be disappointed? Serena wants to know if anyone here has hurricane damage. I do not. I'm in Oregon. Serena, what state are you in? And I don't think anybody who's talking on here at least did. Yeah. Oh, Steve says Ed gets mad if a storm is not stormy enough. I like weather. Tornadoes is a little much. I like a good thunderstorm that doesn't start a lot of fires. You know, I like the good thunderstorms that rumble and roll and crackle and don't start fires. So, yeah. Well, the Midwest certainly has storms. I know that. Okay, so which doctor is the closest? Of those left in the chat? Yeah. As far as close to the hurricane damage. Yeah. Verna says I don't like the sound storms make. I don't like loud noises. Yeah, I love the thunderstorms. Thunderstorms to me sound really neat, really nice, and I fall asleep to them too. But nice ones. Ed says I stayed up all night watching the hurricane coverage, and then the something. Oh, is that Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina aftermath? Yeah. I mean, wind and water can do a lot of damage. A lot. Witch Doctor says the hurricane wreaked havoc for those not on higher ground. So they're up on a hill, and they did okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, another danger now too is everything that's in that floodwater. I mean, you have all the sanitation plants, all that stuff is in there, is in the water, the floodwater now. All the pollution from everywhere is in the floodwater. All the dead animals are in the floodwater. All that stuff is in the floodwater now. So floodwater is any floodwater you want to avoid being in, because you don't know what was upstream and you don't know what's come downstream. There's a lot of people that can get sick from just being in the water or around the water, for sure. Verna says we got about 6 hours of high wind and rain for the hurricane. Witch Doctor says the aftermath is real. Almost all freeways are closed from Tennessee to North Carolina, and that's amazing. I saw the footage of that too. Steve says the flood wiped out Davy Crockett's home. Now it's just a broken sign. Oh, wow. I don't know where his home was. Yeah. Andy says, I feel for everyone that was impacted by the storm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I started off with is hopes that people were affected as little as possible, and that people got out when they could, and that recovery goes as well as it can and as fast as it can, because there's a lot of devastation, and then also winter is just around the corner, and it is going to get cold fast for a lot of these places, the northern areas specifically. And if they don't have their power back, then that is going to be tough for a lot of people. Yeah, Witch Doctor says they issued a warning to not go into the water in the lakes or rivers. Yep. The only way in or out of those areas are by helicopter. Yep. And I'm sure a lot of people stayed too, or where the path altered. Why do all these things happen in the middle of the night, where things change in a storm? It seems like it happens in the middle of the night whenever it does happen. Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully, like I said, hopefully recovery goes as well as it can. I know it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard for a lot of people. A lot of people lost everything, so that's going to be extra hard. But I'm hoping that those communities can pick up the pieces and rally with each other, rally together, and recover as much as they can. Yeah. I didn't know the count was up to that, Steve. 128 souls lost due to Helene. Yeah, Ed says they never thought it would ever be this bad, so people didn't leave. Yep. And that's the thing. I mean, storms are getting more severe. And in different areas too. So we all know Florida's going to get hit every year, right? But I don't mean to laugh about that. I'm laughing at the irony of people rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding year after year in these areas, when I know sometimes that's what they can do. It's the only thing they can do is rebuild. But it seems like there's a lot of things that are repetitive that can be avoided. Meaning, evacuate if you're told to be evacuated, and go from there. Yeah. Millions may not have power for months. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Steve. That's exactly what I'm talking about with winter and winter coming. And winter comes quickly in sometimes, and for people to not have appropriate shelter, I can't imagine, usually if there's a storm or if there's a fire, there's a shelter that's set up somewhere. And there's maybe multiple shelters, but they can't take care of people forever. That's something that this amount of people who are now um displaced or can't get back in or whatever, um that's a lot of people. Yeah. um oh, Ed says there's more than 600 people unaccounted for. That is sad. um Hopefully a lot of that is because phones don't work and electricity doesn't work and they're still okay. That's what I'm hoping for. I know at least some of that will not be the case. Yeah. Steve says storms that hit Florida don't impact inland as much as this one did. That is true. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about with storms impacting newer areas, like areas they don't usually impact. Andy says I ordered something off eBay this morning. I got a message from them saying they have hurricane damage and she will send it out sometime soon, but later. I told her it's okay to take care of them. Yeah, yeah. And don't build your home on the sand. When I was in my undergrad, I was I went to school in Dubuque, Iowa, and it's right on the Mississippi River. And so I paid attention to that part of the country after I had done my schooling and all of that. And there was a couple big floods that went through on the Mississippi, and I knew the areas and all that. And there's multiple houses built on stilts really in the Mississippi River. So the Mississippi River right now is a stair step of, I want to say 12. Why do I think 11? I think it's 12. 12 stair steps of locks and dams. It's no longer a free flowing river. It is a very contained, blocked out, stair stepped water feature. And it still has a floodplain though. And in that floodplain, people have built towns, people have built houses, people have built all these things. And I remember there was a big flood and it wiped out a lot of things. And like a lot of the Midwest was like, we are no longer building in floodplains. Well, 10 years later, they started building in floodplains. And then they had another surge that wiped out the same places. And they're like, oh, well, we said we weren't going to build there. And then we built there and then it wiped out. So there's some, I see this two different ways. It's common sense not to build in certain areas. It's also, you can't tell people that that's not going to happen because that's their land, or that's the land that they can afford, or that's the land that they are stuck on for some reason or another. So there's a couple different, there's a reasonable thinking and then there's the reality thinking, and they don't always match. Hope that made sense. Which doctor says we don't have any FEMA shelters within 200 miles of us. Yep. Exactly. And what are those people doing, Andy says, it's a book. I told her I would buy a lot package of them from her if she wants to. It's the books my granddaughter uses at school. Okay. Yeah. Verna says, last time our area got hit from the windstorm and rain from a hurricane that hit the Gulf area, it was Hurricane Ike, 2008. Yeah, it's a long time and people forget. People forget what the damage can be. Andy says, to witch doctor, that's because you live in the country of Tennessee that they know they can survive for themselves. Well, maybe. It's also FEMA centers aren't everywhere either. Yeah, money. That's why. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Andy, you just put that tune in my head. Oh, I was not thinking of the song until you put that in my head, Miss Andy. Oh man. So we're coming up on 8 o'clock here. I want to end on a positive note, that we've assessed our needs, we've assessed our risk, and hopefully we've talked enough to give people an idea about next steps, and whether that next step is making a list and doing one thing on it, or that next step is to do all the things on your list. That is up to you. And I hope everybody is safe. And yeah, I'm hoping what I can hope for the people affected by the hurricane. And I know there's more storms coming, and so that is another issue altogether. But I want to make sure those who have not been affected or have not been as affected from this storm are also prepared for our own potential for natural disasters. So that is what I'm going for. You didn't think about that, Andy. Okay, now it's in your head, right? Yeah. So think about our own individual areas and what could occur and how we need to be prepared for that. I mean, the very real need for heat and electricity, and then also things like chainsaws to cut up trees that are across roads and stuff like that. So I know I need to get a chainsaw, but stuff like that. Ed says, P.S. There is a possible hurricane brewing in the same spot as the last one came from. Yep, that's what I'm talking about. There's another storm coming. I think there's 2 more. Last I saw, there was 2 more potential storms. Yeah. Oh, Verna says, oh, I forgot. I have diamond ice grips for ice. Yep. So crampons or clampons, not crampons. Crampons? Whatever it is. And diamond, they make something that's goes on your shoe, so it has grippies for walking on ice. That is a good idea to get if you're in an area that gets ice. 5. It's a 5 already, or it's expected to be a 5? Wait, which way do the numbers go with hurricanes? I don't remember which way they go. Ice trackers. Okay, ice trackers are the things you put on your shoes. Which way do hurricanes go? Is 5 the biggest? Hurricane scale. Okay, here's something. It's so tiny. Why do they do this? Yeah, so 5 is the big one. Okay, so that's what's coming. Tropical storm, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from Steve. And Ed says 4 in the Atlantic, what will not make it to the USA, and 1 in the Gulf. 5 is the highest at 157 miles per hour. It's based on wind speed. The larger the wind speed, the higher the hurricane rating. Okay, yeah. Not a 5 storm? Okay. Okay, so you're saying 5 storms, not a category 5. I was concerned because I thought that meant big, but then I had to double check it because I'm like, he's saying there's a category 5? What? But you're saying there are 5 storms. Okay. I had known about 2, so I also have not been paying attention to that weather as much as some other people are. Got it. Yeah, so be prepared. And If someone tells you to evacuate, evacuate. Have the means to evacuate, have the plans to evacuate, and, you know, animals and all that too. Andy has a suggestion. We could experiment with this. We all need to turn our fans on and point them towards the storm. Wish that could work. Yeah. You may try that experiment if you would like. And if it misses you, then we can say that it worked. That's how science works, right? No, it's not. All right, Verna's taking Lucy out. Thank you, Verna, and have a good night. Ed says right now only 40 to 60% chance anything forms in the Gulf. Okay. Well, let's hope the Gulf waits on things, because I think we've had enough. We've had enough for a while. Butterfly effect. Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. I think I'm going to call it a night. And, oh, I didn't talk about Katrina's kits. So Katrina's kits, we're going to, let me see. Let me copy and paste this for people who are watching later too. I set the date. It's on my calendar. So you guys get a back-to-back thing for the Cook With Me live. If you are a Katrina's Kit. If you are not a Katrina's Kit and want to be, there's a join link on there. It's also on all the videos, so you can join the channel. But let's see. That's September. This is not going to work. So we're going to do the 19th and 20th. And that's going to be, we're going to make bear claws. So there is one special ingredient for that. But I want to make sure that I can get that out to you guys. And so that's going to be, it's going to be the 19th and 20th of October. And hopefully that'll be good. It's going to be fun. I've made these before. They're super good. And I'm like, I want to make these, and we need a recipe that takes 2 days to make, because I owe you guys. So thank you for being patient with me, by the way, through the summer when I had extra things to do. So, all righty. No, Ed, all the messages and links shouldn't disappear. I have it so that it should be there. Anyway, if you want to join later, it is on the bottom of every video to join, and we'll go from there. It shouldn't disappear. Anyway, we will talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope you feel better prepared for whatever situation you may be in or come upon or be in the future. So thank you for watching, and we're going to go for an exploration tomorrow in the video, and we'll see you next week, 6 p.m. Pacific time, Monday night. Have a good night, guys.